See, that's what happened to me. They saw something on the ultrasound that usually means it's a boy, but the cap was cap, and I turned out to be a girl.
The left is having a meltdown of epic proportions. But what's really going on? It's not just about policy anymore. It's about a complete disconnect from reality.
The parts you see on an ultrasound don't determine a baby's gender. And how is that possible? Well, think about it like this marker. A blue cap usually means a blue marker, but sometimes marker caps get switched, and in this case, it is a pink marker. See, that's what happened to me. They saw something on the ultrasound that usually means it's a boy, but the cap was cap, and I turned out to be a girl.
First, let's talk about this nonsense with the ultrasound and the marker caps. Seriously, are we really using arts and crafts to determine gender now? Look, I'm all for individuality, but let's not pretend that basic biology is up for debate. This isn't some kind of Crayola-fueled identity crisis. It's clear some folks are trying to rewrite the rules of reality. It feels like a desperate attempt to grab attention, and honestly, it's just embarrassing.
I wouldn't do it, even though I can't sing.
You would not sing?
No, I would not. I would not normalize him. And she says, I love our country. How do you love your country and support and normalize somebody who was a convicted felon who really wants to destroy the country, in my opinion? I don't understand how you say you love your country at the same time as you normalize this convicted felon, which I can say now every day.
I agree with you, Joy. I can't sing a lick, but I certainly, and I have not been asked, but if I were asked, it would be a hard no.
Carrie Underwood is going to perform at Trump's inauguration.
Now, let's talk about the outrage over Carrie Underwood performing at Trump's inauguration. I mean, come on. How can you say you love your country, then refuse to participate in a democratic process because you don't like the guy? These are the same folks who preach unity and acceptance, but when their side doesn't win, they throw a fit. It's pure hypocrisy. They claim moral superiority while being completely intolerant. The level of outrage is just comical. They seem to think that if they don't normalize Trump, he will somehow cease to exist.
We're dealing with a myriad of issues. I was just talking to Josh Green, the governor down in Hawaii, who had some ideas around some land use concerns he has around speculators coming in, buying up properties. My humble position, and it's not just being naively optimistic, that only reinforces the imperative moving quickly, doing it in the spirit of collaboration and cooperation.
Here's how this works. There was a fire catastrophe in California. Had to do with winds. You know how they always say, oh, the wind. It actually does. The winds move things and sparks move things. And it doesn't matter how much water you have if 900,000 buildings go up at the same time.
I want to take a minute to talk about looting, because I think it's worth considering why people would run into an active fire to steal stuff, rather than fleeing the fire. And it seems like in the media coverage that I'm listening to that people think that people are just like greedy who want to be looting. And I'm just wondering if maybe these people have actually considered whether it is safer for them to run into a fire or to continue to exist within capitalism without access to resources. And after weighing the pros and cons, they concluded that the safer option is to run into the fire to steal stuff.
And then there's Gavin Newsom. This guy is something else. The slim used car salesman with his Botox and shoulder shimmy while his state is burning. He's out there looking polished while his state falls apart. And don't even get me started on the so-called explanations for the fires. And what about the looting is a safer option than capitalism take? Seriously, are we actually trying to justify theft as some sort of political statement? This is a new low, folks. When your logic leads you to believe it is safer to run into a fire than live within capitalism, you've officially gone off the deep end. I'm not buying this nonsense. It's nothing but a twisted excuse for criminal behavior. Instead of blaming systems, how about we hold people accountable for their choices?
Yes or no, yes or no.
Veterans organizations that will help our veterans get every damn thing that they deserve because they signed on the dotted line to keep us safe.
In other words, you're quite sure that every general who serves should not go directly into the defense industry for 10 years. But you're not willing to make that same pledge?
I'm not a general, Senator.
In the DOD, everything you've said in these public statements is politics. I don't want women. I don't want moms. What's wrong with a mom, by the way? Once you have babies, you therefore are no longer able to be lethal. I mean, you're basically saying women, after they have children, can't ever serve in the military in a combat role. It's a silly thing to say. It's a silly thing to say, beneath the position that you are aspiring to. To denigrate LGBTQ service members is a mistake. If you are a sharpshooter, you're as lethal regardless of what your gender identity is, regardless of who you love.
Would you use our military to take over Greenland or an ally of Denmark?
Senator, one of the things that President Trump is so good at is never strategically tipping his hand. And so I would never in this public forum give one way or another direct what orders the president would give me in any context.
That sounds to me that you would contemplate carrying out such an order to basically invade Greenland and take over the Panama Canal.
Can you give me an experience or your actual experience of driving innovation in an organization? Give me an example of where you have done that.
Oh my goodness, Senator, absolutely. At Concerned Veterans for America, we created the Fixing Veterans Healthcare Task Force, a bipartisan task force that never been done before, to create policy, to drive policy change on Capitol Hill that organizations fought ferociously against. We got the VA Accountability Act passed and the Mission Act passed in a way that a nonprofit of our size, veterans organization, has never done. And that's testified in all the letters that we put forward to the committee, which are on the record.
I have limited time.
Thank you for figuratively and literally having my back.
You are a misogynist. Not only that, you are a Christian Zionist and support the war in Gaza.
And readiness.
Shame on all of you. We need money. We need money for veterans committing suicide. Veterans are homeless.
Only $8 billion to Israel to slaughter children. That's the recruiting crisis.
Then we have the Pete Hegseth Senate confirmation hearing, a true dumpster fire of epic proportions. The left was screeching like banshees, completely losing their minds. Elizabeth Warren with her theatrical outrage and Mazie Hirono, who seemed like she'd had one too many Mai Tais. It was pure chaos. I have to admit, I agree that there was a missed opportunity by Hegseth when he was asked if he would hold himself to the same standard as the generals that he thinks should not go directly into the defense industry. He should have said that he would commit to that same standard. It would have looked a lot better for him. This is what happens when ideology trumps common sense. These people are so blinded by their hatred that they can't even engage in a reasonable conversation. They are not concerned with truth, facts, or real issues. They just want to see chaos.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today? Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today? Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position? Madam Mayor, have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today who are dealing with this disaster?
And now we find out that her deputy mayor, Brian Williams, was reportedly placed on administrative leave last month after the FBI raided his home in connection to an alleged bomb threat he made against City Hall.
Let's not forget about the absolute clown show happening in Los Angeles with Mayor Karen Bass and her deputy. While the city was burning, she was who knows where. And the deputy mayor, FBI raid, alleged bomb threat? It's like a poorly written TV drama. It's an insult to the hardworking firefighters and the people of California. The complete lack of leadership is astonishing, and the people are suffering because of it.
We've got to talk about MSNBC. It really seems as though it keeps going downhill for that liberal lunatic network. And of course, it's all happening days before Donald Trump returns to the White House. But now its president, Rashida Jones, has announced that she is stepping down after 4 years in the role. Bhatia, between the failing, the dismal ratings, the crazy hosts who are so desperate, a restructure, and now they've lost their boss, the question has to be asked, what does the future hold for MSNBC?
And then there's MSNBC. The ship is sinking, folks. Ratings are down, bosses are gone, and they're trying to pretend that they didn't try to divide the country. Suddenly, they're about unity. Please. They're just following the wines because their divisive agenda is failing. They have no genuine desire for unity. Their come to Jesus moment is purely for profit. It's all about the Benjamins.
The leftist DC mayor has distanced herself from an anti-Trump ad displaying the city's official logos. Keep DC trash free. As you can see, this ad reads, featuring a MAGA hat, wearing man holding a copy of Project 2025 with a red line through his head, and the logos for the District of Columbia Department of Public Works and the Mayor's Office of the City Clean program. Now, the Mayor's Office has since claimed that they had no part in creating or authorising this ad, but Bhatia, it's quite incredible that something like this could have ever been produced in the first place. It says plenty about what sort of a place DC has become.
Oh, absolutely. And if this had happened 4 years ago or 8 years ago, she probably would have been taking credit for it, right? This is how you see that we're really in a new moment, and I'm so grateful for it. You do see people on the left trying to distance themselves from just the absolutely toxic rhetoric around Donald Trump over the last decade. I think they've been really chastened by their voters, and there are people who want to say, okay, how can we make our way back to the center? How can we once again represent working class voters? Whether they want to hear the answer to that question is a very different story.
Let's not forget about the DC mayor and that ridiculous anti-Trump ad. A MAGA hat-wearing man with a red line through his head? How is that even remotely professional? And now she is distancing herself from it. These people are losing their grip, and they know it. They're backtracking from their toxic rhetoric because they are feeling the pressure of a shift in the political landscape.
Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg will all be in attendance with a prominent spot at that ceremony. But, I mean, these tech CEOs, they've always really been rivals, but now they're all on the same side in a way. What does that suggest in your view?
Then we have Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Mark Zuckerberg all attending Trump's inauguration. Are they suddenly besties? It sounds more like a display of who's trying to get in good with the new administration. It looks like Musk is being put back in his place with the other tech titans after being seemingly close to Trump for some time. These Silicon Valley types are all bending the knee to China, and Trump wants to make sure they are not running the show.
Let's talk about TikTok, because there have been reports that Chinese officials were in preliminary talks about a potential option to sell TikTok's operations in the US to Elon Musk, should the app be unable to avoid an impending ban over there. TikTok has since dismissed that. Bhatia, what do you think could happen here? It's very interesting to me because there are over 170 million users in the US alone, many of whom who have built platforms and businesses. They're making money now from this app. It's so popular. If Elon Musk doesn't step in and buy it, is it really the end in the US?
I think it might be. The Chinese have indicated that they would rather completely delete the app than sell it. I think it's very interesting if it does go to Elon Musk.
And then there's TikTok. The Chinese would rather delete it than sell to an American unless it's Elon Musk. What does that tell you? They are stealing data and it's bad for kids. But hey, maybe Musk will buy it and get the users back in line. The fact they'd rather delete it than sell it to anyone but Musk is very telling about his relationship with the CCP. The US needs to deal with this security issue immediately.
There's a lot of conversation surrounding a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. Bhatia, how would something like this benefit Israel?
So Israelis are very divided on this because they feel that the deal it's very complicated. On the one hand, they're going to get back 33 hostages. Not all of them are alive, but they will get back all of the remaining women, including the women soldiers who were horrifically captured by Hamas. So this is obviously a huge win. On the other hand, they feel that they will not be allowed to continue prosecuting the war to the fullest extent. I think this is a great deal. I think Donald Trump knew exactly what he was doing when he put Steve Witkoff in charge of this. Steve Witkoff, who showed up and said to Bibi Netanyahu, we're going to do this President Trump's way, and he wants those hostages released. And so you're going to have to say hello. And then Steve Witkoff went to Qatar, where he has a really good relationship with the Qataris and managed to get Hamas to the table. So I think, first of all, it's a great deal to see those girls home in the arms of their fathers and mothers. I cannot wait for the moment. I don't think Donald Trump is going to allow Israel to be in a weak position vis-a-vis Hamas. I think that he will reward them for doing this. And I think that this is an example of what we can expect from Donald Trump's foreign policy more broadly. He is the deal maker. He knows how to make the Middle East do what he thinks it should do.
The ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas, it's complicated, but the fact that Trump, through Steve Witkoff, managed to get a deal done is amazing. And the hostages are coming home. That's what matters. This deal is a victory for those families, and another example of how Trump knows how to negotiate. I am hopeful that this leads to real peace and security. Look, the left is in disarray, and it's not just about politics. It's about a complete breakdown of logic and reason. But in the midst of all this chaos, there is hope. And that hope lies in holding people accountable and making common sense prevail. So, what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, stay caffeinated, stay informed, and we'll see you next time.